What's good? It's your boy Fanon. Very good fight last night between Jose Ramirez and Emiri Mom. Jose Ramirez came through like a champ in a very good fight. But what I'm going to talk about right now is what happened after the fight and a lot of the interviews that came out this morning. Shout out to Fight Hype. They always do good work. Getting the interviews with the trainers and the fighters afterwards. And in that fight, there was a war. After the fight, there was a war of words that took place between several people. One was, a couple of them were between Terence Crawford and Regis Prograis, who you see on the screen. And also, there was some back and forth. Some Brian McIntyre or Bo Mac from the trainer of Terence Crawford talked about Errol Spence, and he talked about Keith Thurman and kind of like a triangle fight situation in between them. So those are the things I'm going to cover, man. But my general point is that, one of the best things about boxing is seeing those type of confrontations, seeing people look each other eye to eye and, kind of lead up into the fight. And the interesting thing to me is that Terence Crawford didn't go up to Regis Prograis and say, "I'm the A side. Don't talk to me. I'm the A side." And this whole A side garbage that came around with, much respect to Floyd Mayweather Jr., but seriously, man, this whole concept of the A side of a fight, basically being the only person that's important in the fight, and being able to just dictate whatever goes on and fans going for it is really something I think is a pretty negative part of boxing. Now, before I do that though, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon because we'll talk about it in the live streams. We're trying to do more and more live streams to have real-time conversations with boxing fans in the live stream. The best way to know about it coming up is if you hit the bell icon, subscribe, and then hit the bell icon, because I don't do the live streams all the time, on a regular basis. I don't plan them the time. It just is whenever I can fit it in during the daytime. So I apologize for that, but the best way to get notified of them is hit that bell icon. So anyway, let me go forward to this. Regis Prograis and Terence Crawford got in each other's faces and we're going at it. I guess there was a crowd surrounding them after the fight with Emiri Mom and Jose Ramirez. And they were asked, what Rougarou said, or I keep calling him straight Rougarou. Regis Prograis was said, look, yeah, man, it was, it was the usual. I got in his face. I told him I was going to F him up. He tells me he's going to F me up. And, we were going at it, right? And I said, yeah, I'm going to definitely get with this dude, but I want to win these belts at 140 pounds. Then when I get all these belts at 140 pounds, then I'm going to move up. And then I get Terence Crawford. I'm going to deal with Terence Crawford then. Now, if people don't know, Regis Prograis been saying he wanted to get in the ring with Terence Crawford, right? Terence Crawford, the A side, right? Now, does Terence Crawford act as if, he don't know who Regis Prograis is? Like, oh, I've never heard of him. I don't, all that crap. No, he tells the dude he's going to F him up. He's going to F him up, and there's no doubt in my mind that Regis Prograis, that Terence Crawford isn't going to, he's not going to call the National Guard to keep Regis Prograis out of the ring and keep him from looking at him in the face. So that's what you see with these guys now, man. We've taken it from the, the fight can't happen for financial reasons, which is one thing, right? But it's just like, that should be something that is, that's just something that should be said by people who are, Jesus, this needs to be said on the phone between the two accountants. You know what I mean? Like Terence Crawford says, hey man, yeah, his accountant calls Regis Prograis' accountant, and they have conversations about the profit and loss statement for the fight. And then they say, well, exactly how would you go about doing this? How would we go about doing this? How can I make my money? How can you make your money? And they negotiate for the fight. That shouldn't be something that is bantied about by people who are trying to act as if that's some reason for a fight not to happen. And I'm glad to see, at least with Terence Crawford, that he's not the type of dude to do that. To sit on and say, oh, I would dare not talk to him because, he doesn't have as many Twitter followers as I do. He doesn't make as much money as I make per fight. Who have you fought? All of that nonsense, man. Is one man says he's better than the other man and they want to get in the ring and they want to fight. In the rules of boxing. And they both get paid for it. That's what it should be about. And it's at least, and as a fan, I'm more than happy to get a free war of words going on ahead of time, well before the fight. Like Dante's Boxing Nation said, that's free publicity and it's free entertainment for me. And I would love to see it. I don't understand I don't understand how these guys want to take any type of excuse that a fighter gives for not manning up, right? It's just ridiculous. There are fighters that know they can't win fights. That's a fact. There are fighters that look in the eye of another fighter and know that they can't beat him. And if that guy has a belt and you give him an excuse, why wouldn't he take it? But I just honestly, man, I've never seen it at this level before. I've never seen this combination. And maybe it's social media. Maybe it's the fact that, and I'm one of them. Everybody that's got some time and a computer and a microphone can share an opinion. Anybody that wants to turn on YouTube and, get into the comment section can express their opinion. And I'm part of that. And I'm very happy for that. But with this, but developments like that, they have good things about it and bad things about it. The good thing about it is that fighters get exposure who otherwise would not get exposure. Fighters that you would never hear of, or that don't fit HBO's idea of what a great fighter is, or fit ESPN's idea of what a great fighter, what a marketable fighter looks like, or what Abel Sanchez doesn't think is an entertaining fighter, right? All these fighters get exposure because of social media and because of the fact that fans have a voice. And that is a very, very good thing for boxing, and I would not change it. I wouldn't change it at all. I'm a beneficiary of it because I get to share my opinion with, thousands of people. And it's pretty cool to do. So I wouldn't take that away, but there's a downside to it too. The excuse making, the informal witness protection programs going on, and just the stories, the falsehoods get spread even further. And if you take, for example, the whole conversation between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder with him getting in the ring, and the fact that so many people put in responses to videos, Deontay Wilder just needs to sign the contract. Stop acting like Deontay Wilder, like you want to walk up and face off with Anthony Joshua. First of all, you're the B-side. So since you're the B-side, you don't have the right to look the A-side in the eye. You have to, you can only come in the arena if he gives you permission. You have to bow down and kiss the toes of the A-side because, he's the A-side. And so they even go so far as to, in the midst of that, and I'm sorry, the more concrete example of it is sign the contract. When are you going to sign the contract? When's Deontay Wilder going to sign the contract? He can't come into the ring unless he signs the contract. Now, did they take 5 minutes, to look up and how many other fighters have gotten a ring and challenged each other without a contract? In fact, what's the purpose of getting in a ring if you already have a contract? Let me change that around. Why would you face off in a ring if you already had a contract? There'd be no need to face off. You already know the fight's going to happen. The reason people call fighters out is because they don't have contracts, because they don't have the opportunity to fight them. It hasn't been locked down. That's why you call fighters out. That's what facing off with somebody in the ring and getting in their face, that's what it's doing. is get in his face saying, I want to fight you. I want to fight you. Why would you get into a ring? Why would you get into a ring and say that if you already have a contract? I can see why you'd get into the ring and shake hands and announce the fight. Hey, everybody, we've all come to an agreement that he and I are going to fight. Yes, crowd, we're going to fight. I can understand that. Making that announcement that you're going to fight. But the reason somebody would get in the ring and face off with somebody is because they don't have a fight. But hey, man, before we see anything like that, we're just going to take what the A-side fighter says, man. And that is pretty much what I did. That is, in my opinion, of all the things, all the terminology that's been introduced by Floyd Mayweather Jr., that A-side nonsense has been caught on by so many people that it's used, and it's used so freely that it is now just in the nomenclature of boxing. I'm the A-side. Well, let me tell you who else was the A-side. Oscar De La Hoya was the A-side against Floyd Mayweather Jr. He still fought him. He got in the actually, there you go. You can't even be the A-side until you make a deal. If you ain't made a deal, you ain't the A-side. You're the champion or whatever you are. When you the A-side is when you have a contract. Until then, there is no A-side. But hey, man, that's the nomenclature. You're just the A-side. Maybe you will be the A-side, but be the A-side. Offer a real contract, get the contract signed. But the thing that I like about Terence Crawford when he went in with Jose Ramirez, he faces off with Jose Ramirez behind, and that ain't even in front of cameras. Other than people's cell phones, is that they're willing to get in their face and they're willing to talk about it, man. So, hopefully other fighters will follow suit, get to the point where, we can have people aren't calling the police on people to keep them out of the ring. Anyway, man, so I digressed on that one a little bit, man. So let me switch on to the other stuff, man. And the other war of words that happened last night was that Brian McIntyre was talking about Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, and he was asked who he thought would win between Errol Spence and Keith Thurman, and he said that he said that Keith Thurman would be handling him until Errol Spence Jr. broke him down. So pretty much he just want to straight out say that he thought Errol Spence Jr. would win that fight. But, hey, man, that's pretty much the conclusions you draw from what he said. But of course, he said that, Terence Crawford was gonna fuck both of them up. So that was nice to hear, man. And then he also clowned on Danny Garcia, man. When they asked who's the easiest fight at 147, and Bomac said, or Brian McIntyre, I guess I shouldn't call him that. Brian McIntyre said Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia, man. You guys should go check that out, man. It's on FightHype.com. I think it's obviously I look at it on YouTube. And I didn't actually go to their website, but it's on Fight Hype this morning. Just very entertaining stuff, man. Brian McIntyre's doing what he's supposed to do, entertaining, giving the interviews, entertaining people. But what are the chances that I'm sorry, man, I'm still harping on this because I can't believe it. I'm trying to do a video about another subject, about all these cats going at each other and talking after this fight happened, right? And still just trying to get through my head that Anthony Joshua said he will not let Deontay Wilder into the ring with him. I cannot believe it. Seriously, man, I cannot believe it. That is so punk that I've been stuck. It's like, how can not even Anthony Joshua, how can the fans be okay with that? How can you call yourself a boxing fan and be okay with that? You can do all kind of mental gymnastics. And trust me, man, hey, man, I do some mental gymnastics from time to time. Okay? I'll do some research. I'll try to put two and two together and come up with what I think could be happening behind the scenes. I like doing that, man. You know, I like the tinfoil with the best of them. You know, I like to put the tinfoil cap on with the best of them. However, there's certain things, dude. There's certain things that when you see it, you gotta be like, damn, that's a bitch move. Okay, I was the biggest Mike Tyson fan in the world. Big Mike Tyson fan when he's fighting Holyfield. I was watching the second Holyfield fight, and I was like, the first fight, I was like, yeah, Vander Holyfield was headbutting him. He was being dirty. He was doing this. He was doing that. And in the rematch, I was like, the first couple rounds, I was like, okay, Tyson's throwing. Tyson could be winning this fight. And then boom, comes another headbutt, right? Boom, comes another elbow, right? And it's clear to me as a Tyson fan that Evander Holyfield's fighting dirty. But then Mike Tyson bites his ear off. And I'm like, what are you doing, Mike? What are you doing? And even the most avid fan of Mike Tyson has to admit that was a bitch move. He was trying to get out of the fight. He bit him once, they let him go. He bit him again. I think he bit him twice. I mean, he might have tried to bite him, then bit him twice, if I remember right. If somebody in the comment section can tell me if I don't remember that accurately. I was just like, that's a bitch move. I mean, this has to be considered one. Okay? I'm a biggest Muhammad Ali. I'm a huge Muhammad Ali fan. As much as somebody asked me, what do you think about Muhammad Ali calling Joe Frazier a gorilla and telling him he looked like a gorilla? I'm like, man, that's out of hand, man. That's too far. I wouldn't so far call it a bitch move, but I think it was highly uncalled for. And being the biggest Muhammad Ali fan in the world, I gotta hold this dude accountable, man. I mean, I can't hold him accountable, but I at least gotta, when somebody asks me about it, be like, yeah, you're right. That's wrong. I thought that was one of the ugliest things. That's probably the low mark in his career as far as what he said. And, for the people that don't think that, you talking is going to change stuff. Muhammad Ali fought Joe Frazier in the second fight, and it was, in my recollection, it wasn't too difficult. They talk about the first Muhammad Ali fight with George Foreman and Joe Frazier in the third one. And the one that everybody thought Ali was just going to walk through him on, it didn't wind up being like that. It wound up being life and death because Muhammad Ali ran, and I'm thinking a good bit of that could have been because Muhammad Ali ran off at the mouth a little too much. And Joe Frazier is like, man, I'm ready to die up in here. You're not going to be calling me all kind of Uncle Toms and call me Uncle Tom and a gorilla. I mean, both at that point, that was too far, man. And the fans got to go ahead and say, look, man, that's too much. Same thing, man, with you Anthony Joshua fans, man. And anybody else that wants to act like one fighter can't talk to the other fighter. Like a fighter shouldn't have the right, one champion shouldn't have the right to walk in the ring against another champion and look him in his face. And you're going to just co-sign that? You got to come on, man. You got to have some standards for your fighters, man. You got to have some type of standard that is beyond just your love of an individual fighter, where the fighter just can do no wrong. That's when you know that I'm sorry to say it, you're a fanboy when you do that. When you can justify pretty much anything that the guy that you like does, there's something, you are a fan of that guy and you're not a fan of the sport. And I've been listening to a whole bunch of comments of guys that are not fans of the sport of boxing because they don't want to see fights. They're constantly making arguments about why a fight shouldn't be made. Because this guy's not known or that guy's not known. Regis Prograis and Terence Crawford can fight. There ain't nobody, Terence Crawford ain't got any issue fighting the guy. I bet you. And he wouldn't have any issue with the dude getting in the ring. And I don't want to hear this Deontay Wilder kept Jarrell Miller from coming in the ring. Somebody else kept Jarrell Miller from coming in that ring because Deontay Wilder had to get held back out of leaving the interview to go after and go get him. That was a case of trying to keep two people apart because they might actually have a fight. But it is what it is, man. At least I got to see, I was blessed to have, some war of words going on with the Regis Prograis and Terence Crawford. At least Fight Hype, at least they didn't call Fight Hype didn't call the police and separate them and not record it. Anyway, it is what it is. With that, I'm out. Peace.